I would like to share with you a short story of my life, a story of a doctor without borders. I was born in Greece, in a small town. I always wanted to become a doctor. I remember the very first days after I graduated my medical school, and I started practicing medicine in a rural area, in an island. I felt so proud of my social status and so happy of my job. But inside me, there was something unfulfilled. I knew that medicine must be something more than just fixing hands, lungs, or kidneys. And that's when I remembered my last days in the university. I was hanging around in the corridors of the amphitheatrums, and I saw a poster. There was a bullet on the top and a tablet on the bottom. And it was reading, "Their weapons kill, ours save lives." And I said, yes, this is it. I want to join these people. I want to become one of them. I want to be a Médecins Sans Frontières. I started with projects inside my own country, supporting migrants and refugees fleeing from the war. But it was only when I found myself in sub-Saharan Africa, treating people living with HIV, that I really realized, what does it mean to be a humanitarian? It means to stand by people, to stand in solidarity with those that their societies have decided to leave behind. It was the early 2000s, and the only treatment we had was the antiretrovirals, the first line of ARVs, as we call them. But it was a very, very difficult treatment. You had to make sure that people would take their doses every day, the same time, in the morning, in the afternoon. They shouldn't miss any dose. If they miss a dose, they may create some resistance in the virus, and it would be more challenging for us to battle it. And the International Medical Society was quite hesitant. Are you going to give drugs to African people in the middle of nowhere? They don't have a watch. We may do more harm than good on them. But we knew that whoever needs the treatment must have the treatment. And that was a big bet that we made. We knew that patients, as long as they understand how it works, they can make responsible choices in their lives. So we started developing programs all over the world. In South Africa, in Zimbabwe, Malawi, Thailand, Myanmar, we were taking our drugs, our tests, driving in muddy roads, taking the boats, climbing the mountains with donkeys, with motorbikes, and we found the patients that they needed the treatment. We tested them, we counseled them, we offered the treatment, we saved lives. But we didn't stop there. With them, with our post-test clubs, with our friends, with our families, with activists, with lawyers, we were demonstrating on the streets, hand in hand, asking for better, safer, and cheaper treatments. And we achieved that. It was a game changer. So when I went back in my home after a year, I felt so excited. And I felt like, okay, I'm going to join them again. This is humanitarianism. I started practicing surgery. I became a surgeon. And I indeed went back in what we call highly insecure contexts, conflicts, or wars. I did see the horror of war. I saw how cruel humans can be towards human fellows. I saw people being bombed, their places, their houses, their schools, their hospitals. I saw people fleeing with their families, putting their little kids in the boats, rubber boats, getting drawn in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea. And we were there to offer our helping hand and save them, rescue them, and give them at least something in order to carry on their journey. At the same time, in another part of this world, there was an outbreak of a horrible disease, a hemorrhagic fever, Ebola. There were no treatments. There were no vaccines. We didn't know what to do. But we didn't abandon these people. We were there. We tried our best to set up intensive care units, isolation units. We were burying their bodies, their corpses, being dressed as astronauts. It was so strange, but we didn't abandon the people. We said to them, by holding their hands, that we're going to be in this together. That made me so proud and so faithful to this organization that one day I decided to put my candidacy forward for the international presidency. So I stood in front of my colleagues that they gathered from all over the world. I looked at them and I started describing our organization, the humanitarianism, in this hostile environment as a big, big ship that tries to navigate in very uncharted waters. It wasn't easy, but as soon and as long as we have our principles as compasses to guide us, and the patient needs are the North Star there to show us where is the destination, we could do a good job. And they heard me, and they trusted me. So I became the international president. Well, I didn't know, of course, how uncharted these waters would become. Because a few months after I took over from my predecessor, we have all been hit by COVID pandemic. A pandemic that affected every and each one of us, our families, our friends, our communities, and of course all the people that we did care of. And while you saw countries, specialists, running like headless chickens here and there, beating against each other, give me the gloves, these are my PPEs, no, I want more vaccines, I want more of this treatment, we knew that no one would be safe unless everyone is safe. So what we had to do is to make sure that there's no one left behind. We started intervening in nursing homes in Europe, supporting elder people and their personnel, homeless people in the United States, indigenous population in the Amazon region in Brazil, India providing oxygen. We tried to be standing by every and single one of these people that we knew that they would be left alone. And again, we felt so proud of this notion of solidarity. We wanted this to be the main message, the main outcome, the main lesson learned from this pandemic. Well, I don't know how much of this we learned as a society, but while recovering after a couple of years, a big and horrible war broke out in Europe. And we were pleased to see how people opened their arms and showed solidarity to our colleagues, to our human beings fleeing from Ukraine. It was amazing. I would love to see that for every other person coming. And we were there. We were there to support them. We tried to be innovative enough. How can you take the orphanages? How can you take the elder people from the war zone? We took trains and we transformed them into hospitals. We put generators, oxygen machines inside, and we tried to take everyone out of the war zone to the east. And while everyone's attention was in Ukraine, we wanted to remind to people that they should never forget and neglect other crises all over the world. Haiti, Yemen, Afghanistan. And the list goes on. It's been more than a year now that another horrible conflict broke out in Sudan. 25 million of people that they are in humanitarian needs this moment. More than 8 million people that have been internally displaced or they have fled in neighboring countries. And there are people starving. We have heard and we have seen horrible massacres. And all this was happening without any of us talking about it. There was no media attention. It was silently happening for more than a year now. But humanitarians were there. We were again trying to accompany these people, to hold their hands, to say that we will be in this together, to listen to their stories, to treat their injuries, and to make sure that they are treated with dignity. And then Gaza. I don't think there are words to describe what is happening in Gaza. You're all familiar with all these horrible images. The thousands of kids that they are buried under the rubble, the thousands of people that they are amputated, the attacks, houses, schools, hospitals. But what is mainly attacked in Gaza these days is humanity. And what needs to be restored in Gaza today is humanity. After 22 years in this, as a person and as a doctor, many times I felt desperate. I felt worthless. I felt discouraged. I tried to zoom out and try to understand what is our impact in all this. Yes, indeed, we have helped people, we have saved lives. But does this make any difference? Does this make a better world? And every time I think like that, I bring back a memory that I have from this very first mission that I mentioned to you before. It was those days, my last days in Zambia, where we were treating these HIV patients. I was about to leave, and I remember I was sitting in my office when a nurse came very furious inside and said, "Doctor, please, you have to come now. There is a patient that has heard that you're leaving, and he wants to quit the treatment. You have to talk to him." We know that quitting treatment is not an option. So I have to go there. And indeed, I saw the patient sitting somewhere, holding his head, and I spoke to him. I tried to understand what was wrong. He felt so disappointed that I'm leaving. And I said, no, this is not how it works. Somebody else will come, will replace me, you need to carry on with your treatment, it's so important, and please also believe me and trust me, because I also have my family, my friends, my job, I need to go back, I'm a human. And I said, no, doctor, you are not a human. You are my prayers, you are my hope. Humanitarianism is this basic act of solidarity, of standing by the people that they are in need. It is not heroic, it is not crazy. It is simple, it is humane. Standing by the people, sometimes without having all these weapons that you believe that you had. But being there with them, saying that we're going to be in this together, it gives them hope. This so much needed energy to stand up and carry on. And my message to all of you today can be this one. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what you do. You can be operating in an inflatable tent in the middle of nowhere. You can be working in an office. You can be studying. As long as you stand by and stand with other people, and as long as you respect them with dignity, this can give them a hope. And hope is the starting point so that one day we may manage to make this world a better place.